We're standing in front of the device wall here, and yeah, we're going to see how our app did. Now, you know, we've been working on building something for WebRTC. Justin can tell you a little bit about that, and we're going to see how the app performs on a whole range of devices.
Right, so we just did a talk about how AppRTC is our sample app for WebRTC, but it's trying to be a really polished sample app and trying to be really, really fast. And so Sam and I were just talking about this, the device wall, and we thought, hey, what would happen if we tried to like fire up 100 video chat clients on every single device we have here on the device wall? Like, what would actually happen? And it turned out to be actually quite interesting. You know, when we fire it up, you can see that these things all come to life. It's all pretty fast, but some come to life faster than others. And you can also see some variances in terms of which ones actually show a better frame rate, a better camera feed. And so like, being able to compare the optics, like the cameras of all these devices, like side by side, like we've never even had this ability before. It's actually
it's pretty cool.
It's quite fast.
Like really different, like, you know, the color, you're getting sort of color cast on this one. Some of them are sharper than others. We've got a whole range. Movement is like, some of them are handling movement much better than others. And here we're seeing the classic user interface problem, which is on, you know, landscape telephones. What have we done here? We've got the button is halfway off the screen. Really common problem for user interface. And oh, here's another problem. The join button has gone tiny. But in fact, you know, the video quality is great. What really blows me away is we've got a stack of different devices, and you know, WebRTC is working really well on all of them. Do you want to talk a bit about like the hardware and stuff that does that?
Yeah, so internally, we're sort of calling down to the Android camera API, which is doing all this work for us. And you know, since every single device is different, you know, we see different performance coming from these different devices. But it's quite interesting in that, you know, in the same lighting conditions, like everything here is like the same amount of light, you know, same shutter and everything like that.
Check this one out.
Yeah, this one's super dark. This one is like really, really jerky. And then this one here is like really nice, you know, really good experience. So it just like, very interesting just to see this visually, like all these specs that you kind of people talk about in cameras and everything like that, really displayed in terms of like, what is the actual user experience that you're going to get out of it? Well, like here you can actually see it. And I'm not, you know, Sam, you mentioned the whole thing about what did we do right on the app side, make sure like the things are usable. In some cases we did better than others, but also for the devices, like, you know, how do these things actually fare in a real world scenario? Like, what would the actual people using these things actually experience? Well, you can actually see this like in like a real world mode. And like, I don't know, I think it was a great experiment.
No, that's right. I mean, you know, what really interests me is, you know, we had a lot of talk in the keynote today about the next billion devices. Well, you know, a lot of those people on next billion devices, in fact, they're coming onto like more affordable data plans, and, you know, some of those people are going to be using video on mobile devices. And so, you know, you can see along here, what we really need to be able to do is do, you know, great video and audio experience, but with low CPU, low power usage, and, you know, all the rest of it that goes into making it work well on a low-spec device with, you know, limited bandwidth.
Yeah, I mean, you can just think of a number of ways that we could like take this in a further direction that would be even really interesting. Just like seeing, doing this, what's the actual power consumption of every single device here? And we got these great scores for like, how fast is it, and like, you know, or some of the other things.
I'm really happy with that.
You know, and so, but what if we could also measure like power? Like, what is the actual power usage of the site? Or like, what is the FPS that we're getting across each site? I mean, I'm just like, my mind's kind of just going through a lot of cycles now, thinking about like, this is a fantastic tool. What else could we actually do with this? And I know that some of the announcements that were made this morning about the actual sort of cloud laboratory for doing like testing on different devices, I wonder if you could get these same sort of benchmarks. And I know you mentioned that like the next thing, these are all calls like in the waiting state, where it's just displaying the local video while it's waiting for the user to join the call. But then we could, you know, if we could have some other way of connecting these devices to some other kind of remote endpoint, we can start seeing what is the actual performance of them when they go to actually send that video from the camera across the network and that sort of thing.
Yeah. And one of the things, I mean, you said this morning was that, you know, messaging apps are becoming, you know, really the dominant apps on mobile devices. And I think you said something like 6 out of 10 of the most popular apps on mobile are now like, you know, apps that do messaging. So it's hugely important, this.
Yeah, the new Mary Meeker report, you know, said the actual usage, the the top 10 apps in terms of usage, 6 of them are just pure communications apps. I mean, there's other apps in there that have some other functionality in their social networking apps, but like 6 of those apps are actual communications. And I think the point to take away from this is that the number one thing that people are doing on mobile devices is communicating. And I guess like that's not really that surprising if you think about it, like, you know, they're phones like originally, but I still like, you know, we've gotten this thing of like there's email and there's all the other things. Like first and foremost, these devices are being used for communicating, and so like, you know, we've been out to deliver great communications experiences, and like this is a great way of actually kind of visualizing that.
Yeah, yeah, that's something we really need to do really well, and you know, especially in these conditions of low bandwidth and you know low spec devices, and it's great to see this stuff.